like to start with an acknowledgement that we're in the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. We're grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. Oh, there she is there. We'll let her in. And with that we'll move on to our agenda. Any changes to the agenda? Seeing no changes, can I get a motion to adopt as presented? Councillor Danaka makes that motion. All in favor? Carried. Oh, I didn't see everybody around the table, but yeah, everybody did. I'm trying to look here and up there, so you guys were too quick. Good, all right. Now before, well, we don't have any scheduled delegations, but any public delegations before everybody knows we're here. Oh, there's Alan.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. I'd just like to take this opportunity to inform Council that after 8 years of employment with the town enforcement services, Erica is leaving us and should be going, her last day will be Thursday. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity for Council to give their thanks and well wishes.
We don't accept her resignation.
I agree.
Well, I thank you and appreciate everything this town has done for me and my family. Damn it, Shanna. We made Ivory a home and we're gonna miss it, but it's been fun. So thank you.
Well, before you go and get away, we've got a little present for you.
More Kleenex, probably.
Yeah, more Kleenex.
I'll just use it as a Kleenex.
Some Town of High Prairie swag that we haven't had for a long time, so you get some of the first
Right on.
stuff off of there.
Thank you.
And
I
thank
appreciate
you
it.
for
Yeah.
all that you've done. Oh, you want to get a picture?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You want it closer to the wall or right?
Yeah, probably.
Okay. We should get Alan in here too, yeah.
You want that chair moved? Is it in the picture?
No, it'll be out and out. Okay, just a couple, please.
Smile.
Hey, thanks so much. Sad day.
Yes.
Sad day.
Yeah, it's a sad day.
Good luck in your future.
Thank you, Erica, and good luck
Yes,
to you.
thank you for all you've done.
Okay. Thanks.
Would you just tell me bring it so I can see the office? So I said I'll have to use it. Sometimes I bring it, sometimes I don't. Tonight I did.
How about you stepping up to new technology and that's all you're using?
Me, technology mixed like oil and water.
What's that?
Me and technology mixed like oil and water.
Oh, okay.
Oh, John's got the tears inside too, right?
Oh, no. I got period glasses.
That's because you've been crying, huh?
Yeah, teardrops.
All right, so we'll move on to our fire chief's report. Can I get a motion for this one? Councillor Wakefield.
I'll move the council to receive fire chief's July 2023 report for information.
All right, thank you. And with that, I'll turn it over to the fire chief, and you can give us any of the highlights or changes since your report.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple things. So on the second bullet there, we had some members move away. We've added a couple new applicants. I've got 2 more possibly coming in, so hopefully refilling up our lockers. We're getting close to our 30 again. One interesting note is we've got a young gentleman that's employed by Grimshaw Trucking. He's Ukrainian. I don't know, import, I guess if you want to call it something. He's applied and his first day was yesterday, seems pretty excited and is happy to be part of the team. And other kind of thing was we had the Royal Purple buy a big, huge Canadian flag, and I'm sure everybody could see it throughout town. So that was kind of a highlight of the parade. We're glad to be able to break it out. Nothing much happening in Canada Day, so we didn't really have an event or a reason to put it out on Canada Day. So the Elks Parade and all the traffic going through town was, I thought an appropriate thing to make happen. Outside of that, I'm open for questions from council.
All right, thank you for that. Open it up for questions. Oh. And nothing online, no questions? No, okay, and, oh, go ahead, Bill?
This is, the chief's well aware of this, but the chief made a claim under the DRP program for roughly $135,000. We have received money.
Oh.
So that is good news. So sorry for what. I'll give you a heads up on that.
Cool. So yes, if you want to, you've got questions on the statistics sheet on the back side there. You can see the entry that was entered in July. So that's basically the dollars that were billed out for that month, which would include the DRP.
That's good, we've got it already, that's fantastic. All right, nothing else? No, I was gonna ask where we got the flag, but you explained where it came from, so thanks for that.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Trevor.
All right, moving on then. Oh, sorry, we've got, we had the motion to receive for information, all in favor? Carried. Moving on to our minutes. Can you get a motion on these ones? Councillor Yashishin?
The council approves the minutes from the July 11, 2023 regular meeting of council as presented.
All right, any changes needed to the minutes? All right, seeing none, all in favor? Carried. And moving on then to business arising, Tree Canada program. Can I get a motion on this one? Councillor Dunn.
The council submit the potential planting sites detailed in this report to the beautification committee to support their grant funding application.
Perfect, thank you. And any thoughts, comments on this one? Councillor Wakel and Councillor Daneka.
So, did I misunderstand, like, don't we, they want us to pick one of these, don't they? Is that tonight they want us to pick this, or is it just?
Yeah. Well, at least to work with them to say, here's where we'd like to put them, and then work on tree species and work on how many they could get with the grant, and then we can finalize it, but we've got possible locations.
Yeah. I don't know how feasible it is, but what about the, as another possible location, that, the old daycare site behind Subway there? I know right now it's got a bunch of dirt and that piled up on there from the repairs on the street, but like, we can't use that for anything, right? And what better way to reclaim an old landfill site than turn it into a tree nursery? I don't know, maybe it's not viable.
Yeah, I don't know the rules around reclaimed landfills, and because I know they're still monitoring it, and they would have some checking spots, right?
Well, they can put a golf course on top of one of theirs.
Oh, okay, well, we should be able to do more then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know, it's just an idea that I've had kicking around for a while. But, I mean, otherwise, I like all of these sites, they're
that anything else?
Nope, that was it, sorry.
Okay. Councillor Tanaka?
So, thanks to administration for taking the photos and suggesting of the sites. I'm not sure, like, some of these don't necessarily, personally, I don't think they would work. The page 15 along the walking trail going north, I guess I'm not exactly sure where those would be planted, because across from the apartment with the trees that are on that road, to me, the sight lines are diminished when you go around there, when you come out of Silverwood. You've got a nose out because those trees are there. So to me, that isn't necessarily a good one. And the other one on page 16 for Alder Crescent, I'm not sure if that would work because that's where they pile the snow in the wintertime. So I don't know how well the trees would survive there. I really like the one, where is it? The one with the open field south of the water plant as a tree nursery. I really like that idea. Not that we're going into business of selling trees, but, and again, the campground is always a good spot to have trees. I don't know the process here, Chris, if we submit these to you and you guys apply and then they say, okay, we'll give you 50 trees or 20 trees, and you sort of disseminate them among the spots that have been chosen or suggested by the town.
I think from Chris, you were saying before, it's more of a money amount and then we go out and purchase what we want, is that correct? Yeah, so they would apply and then once we can find out how much money and then the type of trees, then we can figure out how many that we could get, and then we could finalize the sites once we know how many and prioritize them, but at least we know there's some locations and approximate numbers that we could work with here.
Did you say, Chris, whether they were like seedlings or like 3 feet tall or 5 feet tall?
Guess since it's recorded, I should come to the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, we apply for an amount and it's up to us what we apply for in the grant, and then it's approved or not approved. So I will distribute these to our members here in the coming week and see, in regard to your comments and ours, if we can agree on 1 or 2 projects. I think would be fair at this time.
Sure, and then we can also, like your question, how big the trees are. I mean, I
Well,
think it's a money amount and then we
I
can.
can't remember if you had said or if you knew at the time if they were like seedlings or like foot tall tree.
Whatever we would decide to purchase in the application would be up to us.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
nothing about purchasing trees, some of you around the table may know. My understanding is, of course, the bigger the tree, probably the more expensive it's going to be,
Okay.
and probably more expensive to plant it.
Yeah, and then if you get really big, then they're established and it looks good right off the bat. So, the bigger you can make it, it is better, but, because then you don't have such a long time to get established. But like you say, it is more money and it is a little bit more to plant, so I was thinking something in that 3-4 foot range, because then you can do it manually still and get it in the ground. That was my thinking, but open to getting tree spades and everything else is a lot of work. Councillor Shishin?
Yeah, I was just going to add that I think this is just an excellent project. I get actually quite excited when I see planting trees and beautifying and things like that. And there's some really good sites in here. Like I was kind of putting a check mark beside certain ones in here. Like, there's a lot of really good sites. I guess it kind of depends on what the tree species is and like you're saying, what size it is, right? But, you know, if you're looking for more of a little orchard thing, then the, by the water plant, the tree nursery would lend itself well to that. And then just depending on some of the other locations, it would just look beautiful depending on which trees are there. So yeah, there's numerous sites. When I look through them, there it would be a hard decision to make.
Thank you for that. I got a text message from Judy that she got kicked off, but she was frozen. But she did say, I'd like to comment that she's not in favor of trees around the walking trails just due to too many hiding spots was her thoughts, or the safety concern there.
Okay, just one last thing on a little bit of a different comment. Thanks to the town, McIntyre Park looks spectacular this year. The beds are, never seen them in better shape, so they're giving them an awful good drink. And I know I did some weeding there, but they went and did a real good weed in there a couple, 3 weeks ago. So I think when we go in there this weekend, just pull the tall ones out and clean it up. I don't think it'll need any more care other than the drink for the rest of the summer. But we have well over 90% success rate on the planting by the kids, which was astounding when you go in there. It's thick and just unbelievably doing well. So thanks to the town for that.
Okay, so just so we all are on the same page of how we're gonna proceed, because like there was the question of do we have to finalize it now? And my understanding is we don't have to finalize this. We can get the amount, pick some trees, see if we get the grant, and then we can, with you guys and administration, based on some of these sites, we go ahead and pick them. Is that where we're at?
Yes, if I could just add, again, the tree species will be important in terms of survivability and durability, and there's always, obviously, larger trees cost more, smaller trees, the survival rate will be a lot less, so there's trade-offs on both sides. So we have access to someone that, you know, a professional arborist that is offered to assist in that selection. Administration will be going back and vetting all the sites. Again, there's some good locations, like for instance, in Cornerstone, where there's, you know, backing onto the public works yard. Well, there's a good buffer that can be put in there. You know, there's some better locations than others. It'll all be dependent on the grant money, and we have identified more sites that we will have access to funding. That's for sure. So.
Kerry Gordy used to be, we call him the tree expert. Do you have a tree expert on staff now that's sort of assumed that title, or not? Because beautification could approach Kerry for some advice too.
Yeah, we can do that jointly. We don't have a professional arborist on staff, but we have access to individuals that are contractors of the town.
Okay, so, yeah, lots of good ideas, and I like that Railway Avenue too, to block off the train and kill some of the sound, so there's lots of good spots in there.
Thank you.
All right, anything else on this? We had the motion to allow administration to work with beautification with these sites. What was the motion? I think it was administration. Yeah. Yep. To submit it to the beautification committee to support their funding application. All right. All in favor? It is carried. All right, moving on then to High Prairie Minor Hockey funding request. Get a motion on this one? Councillor Dunn?
That council provide administration direction.
Okay. Let's start with that, and perhaps you can say, what would you see as a direction?
Well, first of all, I just need some clarification on the 5,000. Well, if I read it like it's written, it's like 5,544,000 me, I think that my direction is, not, and I don't fully understand how, what happened, that this is outstanding, or if it's outstanding, or they're just asking for the season. It says the 2023-2024 season, so I'm taking this year coming up. And, I love to see children and be able to get involved. And I know that at some levels, they just can't, either because of time commitment or the money commitment. And I would recommend that we put this forward to see how many counselors would like to, and that we break it down accordingly.
Okay. Councillor Danaka?
Do you know what the result was from his meeting with Big Lakes County? Because he was going after our meeting to talk to them. Did they offer any money or anything regarding his request?
I think our CEO might have an answer for that.
So Mr. Hess could not attend tonight, but he's well aware of the contents of this report. So yes, he did go to the county council, made a similar presentation he did to town council. They referred it to the next joint recreation committee, which is until October. I subsequently had conversations with the county CAO. The county CAO has received a copy of this report saying, they need an answer before the season starts, and we need to move this along. I know the conversation at county council was that they were leaning towards considering him submitting a grant application to their recreation grants funding envelope, and as outlined in this report, I'm recommending not to do fee waivers because they get lost and the groups come back thinking they're always going to get a fee waiver. This is a subset of minor hockey, so there will be some challenges if fee waivers are the practice. So it's better if we councils have a grant budget to consider it as a grant, and council can make the case whether you want to wean them off the grant. As I alluded to, there are third-party organizations such as Canadian Tire Jumpstart that provides individual funding for individuals in need. So there are other mechanisms to provide support for low-income individuals. So I read this report as here's sort of best practice when it comes to this area, and each council then could consider its level of funding for this community activity.
All right. Any other comments on? Oh, go ahead, Councillor Martins.
Thank you. Bill, or, anyone on council, can you provide a little bit of an update? I recall Mr. Hess presenting us with how many kids attended last year. Do you remember roughly what that number was?
Last year...
So what's the enrollment this for pond hockey?
Just going through his correspondence, it basically last year it was around 35 players. 35 participants. The year before, It was much lower. Last year, there was a very low registration fee, which he's attributing the increase in participation. Now, as I detailed in the report, there are other communities that fully fund their pond hockey at the arena. So there are other potential asks if relief is given to this organization versus other organizations. But there are numerous other groups that do pay full fees for their pond hockey participation at the rink.
So the potential $3,500, because they still charge $100 per child, correct? Where does that money go toward funding what? Supplies or?
Predominantly it's for ice time. Some of the other activities are covered through the overall budget envelope of minor hockey, but this is, again, you don't need uniforms, you don't need equipment, you need a pair of skates and a helmet, and away they go. They are trying to supplement, sort of learn to skate as part of their programming activities to encourage that learn to skate for the kids that, don't have an opportunity, because other organizations that provided those programming are not providing that programming currently. So, that's a consideration for council.
Right, I saw the can skate comment, and so then, is the pond hockey, team, are they can skate certified?
I doubt if they are, yeah.
I'm just trying to roughly do the math here, so really then we're out about $2,000 in ice fees, correct? Because if 3,000 is covered by, let's say, registration, roughly, this is rough back of the envelope math, is it true that maybe 2,000 is, is not covered by their potential registrants? Or do I have those numbers off?
Assuming they do get 35 kids participating this year, that math scheme would be worked in the ballpark for sure.
And so where did Councillor Dunn land in his recommendation? I know he motioned to provide administration with direction. I heard Councillor Danaka's comments. Was Councillor Dunn still speculating, or is there a directive on the table?
No, there's nothing on the table at this point. No,
Thank you, those were my questions.
Okay. I'll just give my thoughts as one, like I think pond hockey is good, and if we can support it, that's good. I'm also a little concerned though that this is minor hockey, and if we're supporting one minor hockey, the rest of minor hockey will say, well, we want a grant, or the Dolphins will come and want a grant, and all of the organizations will. And that's okay, we can use up our grant dollars there, but that's my only concern about it. This is a good cause, it's good for the kids. It helps to get those kids on the ice, and I know it is a challenge for some of the parents to afford it. So it is something that we could look at. And again, it is up to us. I know if the county does, that's a bonus for them, but if we want to do half and let them in half, or, leave a little bit there, or like you were getting at, there's 2,000 outstanding, maybe there's after fee payment, but I think they're also hoping to not even charge the $100, so they would like to waive the fee and just let people show up. Other thoughts out there?
Just because there was.
So there was a comment that, I don't know if anyone noticed, but there was a comment that says that someone already provides free skating. I don't know where I saw that comment. Did you guys see that? Do you guys have chat, or some comment that just came through, and it said, now if I could find it again, that'd be great.
Oh, okay.
Did you guys see it, or is it just me? Come on, guys.
It's in the chat menu there from Judy.
Yeah, find it.
Judy, go
Okay,
ahead.
something about free skating.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Hello? Okay, it's me trying to use chat. I'm trying to use as less internet as I can. Recreation already provides free skating time slots already. So that's an opportunity for the kids to get on the ice and learn how to skate. They have Cadet in school, which they also do skating there too. There's a lot of opportunities, and like Mr. Mayor said, that we support this, we're gonna have to support everyone.
So can we ask the rec director, is that a correct statement, that there's free public skating?
There's 2 hours a week.
2 hours a week?
Yeah, I try
But-
to do it on Saturdays.
Yeah, but in that, at that time, are they allowed to bring sticks onto the ice and pucks?
No.
No. So there's a bit of a difference, Judy.
Were you able to hear that, Judy? Okay, I'll just repeat that, there's 2 hours of free ice time on Sundays.
Usually Saturdays.
Oh, usually Saturdays, sorry. And during that free ice, they're not allowed sticks and pucks. It's a free skate versus a hockey or shinny hockey.
It's not structured.
Yeah, it's not structured or organized. Okay, now, it brings up a good question I was thinking about, but saying, well, it should go to the Recreation Committee, but the Recreation Committee can't make any decisions, it has to go back to council, so we get that vicious circle, right? It goes to Recreation Committee, and I know you're working on the terms of reference for that, and maybe in the terms of reference for the Recreation Committee, the Rec Committee should be able to give out a certain dollar amount, to a maximum of $10,000 or something, where they could make decisions, because especially if this is contingent on the other one approving it or not approving it, where if they can make some of those decisions, that might be a good thing. It's not truly related, but it's something. I'll get you, Councillor Stenhouse, but our CEO wants to mention that.
That is an opportunity, and that's the wishes of council. We can deal with that as part of the budget deliberations and have the process up front, rather than introducing it mid-year. In addition, council should be aware that the county has more structured grant programs than the town does have. So certain members of their council are advocating to have it go through their grant processes, not through a third and supplementary process that hasn't, like they have funding envelopes established within their budget for various streams of community grants, so there may not be full support from the county of that approach.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just thinking if that's one option, but there's other things that come up with recreation that might be better suited where that committee can make some I'll call them relatively minor decisions, but we're getting off topic, just something for, to think about there.
So when Mr. Hess was here, since I wasn't here the last meeting, did he talk about, like, had he done exploration around the agencies that you talked about that would support? Had he looked at possible sponsorship from local businesses or anything like that?
In a nutshell, in terms of jumpstart and programs like that, no, those haven't been explored by most of the organized leagues in town. We can provide assistance with them on those opportunities. Again, this is, somewhat chicken and egg. I would imagine he will be looking for sponsorships continuously to support the pond hockey aspect of minor hockey. What he's advocating is that money stays for pond hockey activities and not be blended in with minor hockey. So there's some internal politics, obviously, in terms of that dynamics within minor hockey and the various avenues. But like any of the groups, last year they were very fortunate to receive one major donation and sponsor for the program. That doesn't mean there won't be other donors coming forward after council makes a decision either way on this issue tonight.
Because, I mean, that's what presents the paradox for me, right, is the fact that we, listening to our discussion, we are in essence penalizing the people that are in the other aspect of minor hockey that have to put out the dollars and have to do that by agreeing to this, subsidizing this, right? And what are we doing, what will we do to that organization in terms of community and stuff? If we give money to them and we don't, help with other expenses elsewhere.
So if I could, through the mayor, just make a comment. That's always a struggle with community grant programs. Generally, most municipalities, I shouldn't say most, but for startups, and this could be considered a startup program, they would provide transitional funding and make it clear that this is not a permanent grant. You're going to be weaned off, and we expect you by year 2 or 3 or whatever to be fully financing like any other community group. But it is a great way to encourage startups to get the program going and get recognition and build that, volunteer base to do the fundraising and the like. But, that's really a council call on which way you want to approach it. So I would I see it from that perspective as this is a startup group trying to develop a new niche within minor hockey programming, and it's not core programming, and it's not to penalize the core program group. It's to get broader participation in the community. So I'll leave you with that.
I know that pond hockey had a lot of players pre-COVID, so when they were going pre-COVID, they had, I'm not sure of the numbers, but they were very high, because they had lots of ice time and lots of kids and volunteers. So I'm not sure if it's a startup other than trying to get it going again.
It's a bounce back.
Yeah.
And just, if I could, through the mayor, this is not the only group that programs pond hockey within our facilities. So those other groups are still very active of providing pond hockey activities.
Yeah, so that's the challenge, isn't it? You got one group and then the other ones will come. I love the group, I like the rationale. My only concern is, where do we sort of draw a line in the sand to say, okay, well, that's it. But at the same time, we've got money for donations and sponsorships, and we haven't been using it, so this is an opportunity to use it. So, yeah, I sort of go both ways on it, and go, oh, what should we do? How should we handle it? But Councillor Waco?
I like the idea of the transitional thing to give it a bit of a kick in the pants to get it going again and get their numbers back up. And then, just make it clear right from the start, is my thinking, that this is temporary. We're giving you the shot here to, we're giving you the opportunity to grow it, to build your volunteer base, to build your player base, and now, there's other, like the Canadian Tire Jumpstart program, there's more than just that. There's lots out there, and I understand, we're always the first stop, but, we can be the first stop, but it's like, okay, here's the map to look for other revenue sources.
So to move this along a little bit, what would you suggest as a startup amount or a transitional grant?
What's their ask? 5?
Just 5, yeah. 5,544.
However, there's also the county that may or may not sponsor them, so. But
Why don't we split it in half, give the county the opportunity to fund half of it. It's something that's a start for them. It's more than they had last year. It'll still provide some relief.
yeah, they did get a grant from an outside organization last year to pay for their.
Do you know how much
that's what you mentioned.
Do you know how much that grant was?
I don't, for sure. Oh, it was for 5,000. Yeah.
It was for the full fund.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, so you're saying 2,500, basically, just around it off.
50%. Yeah, gives the county the opportunity to,
Okay, so we have a number out there, what are people thinking of that? We have to really quickly, who would be, because it each comes out of our portion of our grants and donation dollars. Of the people that are here, was there anybody that would not support that amount? So if we've got 5 times, or 6 councillors, I'm assuming, because I would,
did we lose Judy?
we lost Councillor Stenhouse, so we can't speak for her, but if it was 6. What's the math on that, John? I see you got your calculator. 2,500.
So, if we wanna make it an actual split down the
Oh,
middle,
okay.
that, obviously I can't calculate.
Okay, we're getting some official math to see if people would support it. Yeah, roughly $600.
Is 2,772, and then by 6, you said, divide by 6?
Yeah. Keep that number 2,000.
$462.
Oh, okay. All right, 462, if everybody was on board, and then it would go up if there was fewer people. I'm all right to sign on with that. John, you're all right? You're all right? Good. Councillor Tanaka?
No.
No. Councillor Martins?
Like you, Mayor, I struggle with the fact that I love all things hockey, and that's the problem, is that there are a lot of things that are all things hockey. So at this stage, it'd be no, because I know that the other question I had was, what are they doing for fundraising initiatives? So at this point, I'm no.
Okay, so we're down to 4. So I'm going to make the suggestion that we commit 2,500 each for the ones that are in. Would that work for people? Yeah.
We do have a motion on the floor from
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
John.
Yeah.
We have to,
Well,
he could,
There
That
wasn't
is-
a
that
motion, he
is
was
to
just
provide
doing,
direction
he was just
to
doing the
Oh, okay.
math.
So we need to come up with something.
I'll make the motion that council provide a transition grant in the amount of $2,000 to be divided by the 4 councillors at $500 each. Oh, to be applied to the rental fees, yes. Yeah. Thank you for that, yeah, that's good. All right, all in favor? Sasha, you're in favor of that motion with the 4, or are you opposed? I can't,
You're on mute.
so I made the motion that the 4 councillors.
Sorry, I was on,
Oh, yeah.
I heard you.
Okay, so you're in, I didn't see your vote and need to know what your vote is.
Yes, I'm opposed.
Okay, so it's still carried with the 4? All right, so we can now move on to next agenda item 8.1, Rail Safety Week. Get a motion on this? Oh, Councillor Wakel is on the ball there.
well, it's during my birthday week, so. I will move that council proclaim September 18th to the 24th, 2023 as Alberta Rural, what the hell, Health Week.
Should be safety.
Alberta Rail Safety Week.
Yeah, that. Missed that one.
Okay. Any discussions on this one? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried. to the watershed request. Get a motion on this one. Councillor Gunn? Oh, Councillor Martins.
Sure, I'll move that council consider a grant to be applied to rental fees in the amount of $250 and allow 3 rec staff to assist with the event. And I'll just say that last year's was a real big success. It's, you know, I happen to be a part of the watershed committee, so this is, I see the work that they do, and I was going to give it up during my report, but I will leave it with that motion on the table.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts on this one? My only thought, and I was thinking about this when I was reading it, is we're allocating, and it's sort of like the thing that we're talking about with hockey. We're allocating our staff to a non-profit organization, right, to run an event. So what will happen in theory, I'm just throwing it out there about, you know, ballpark, but minor hockey comes and says, we want 4 staff to run our hockey tournament, to be there to help run it. Or tennis club says, we want some staff to help run a tennis tournament. I'm just throwing that out there to say, okay, where's the line when we're allocating staff? Because in my head, I can't see the difference between one group and another group, and how would we sort of draw the line when we say, okay, we're going to assign staff to one event, but not another event? Any thoughts on how that would work? Go
Well,
ahead,
for-
Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, for me, this is a once-a-year thing, right? It's an annual thing. It's not organized sport. It's not, so us allowing staff to be there is, for me, is reasonable. The fact that the fire department is going to have volunteers there, I think the town needs to be able to match that as well. And so those are my thoughts anyways.
Go ahead, Bill.
So, what I would suggest is when the budgets come forward next year, there will be a briefing in terms of service levels and what service levels we're going to, that are included in the budget. So we'll have that discussion with council saying, these are normal community events that happen a year. Either they're in program within the budget or they're not. This one's just sort of, staff took the initiative and moved it a bit forward without getting direction per se. So that's the approach that I recommend to council. Whatever operating department there is, we need to be clear to council what's included in that service budget and what activities we're running versus what activities other community groups are running. And if council wishes us to participate in those by providing staffing resources, assistance, locating programs within their activities, would be no different than council's, requested administration to have like a recreation sign-up night, and we would be one participant, but there would be minor hockey, there'd be other community sports groups there, and have one registration night. It's the same type of thing. What is allowable within that program budget that council's approved? Otherwise, it puts administration in the place of bringing these one-offs consistently back to council, because this is not necessarily a core activity of the aquatic center. So that's the debate, and that's why it's here tonight. Because last year it was brought to council for discussion, but that doesn't mean council wishes to have that as a permanent program.
No, and I think it's a good program, don't get me wrong, I fully support it. I guess my question is just looking sort of to if other groups came in, how would we make that line to say, okay, yeah, because there are other groups that run events and they could use help to run those events. It's not us running the event, it's an outside organization, that's all, that's why I'm. Councillor Martins?
Yeah, I fully appreciate those thoughts, Mayor. Two things. One, it's part and parcel of what is required here, it's the lifeguards. They're not just asking for, hey, help us, find registration, but it's not, it's very specialized help, it's the lifeguards. And that constitutes the majority of the assistance required here because of the nature of the event. And the ask is $250. I mean, it's a rather small ask. A ton of it comes from sponsorship and volunteer time and resources and money. So I'll have council kind of look at those two things. One, the ask is very, very minimal at $250, and this is not to a limited group. Hey, you must skate or this age group. This is open to all community, all ages, all kids, and it was very well, not only attended but well done last year. So I'll put that forward. Is that it's because of the lifeguard support.
Okay, go ahead.
I asked the rec superintendent to comment if this type of event requires registered lifeguards.
So last year, we played, the 2 lifeguards that came played with the kids. We're only, if we go, it'll be from 11 till 2. It goes longer than that, but I said 3 hours if we do it. And then I'd be barbecuing hot dogs and handing them out to the community.
Is there a requirement to be qualified
No.
lifeguards?
It's just Splash Fest, they wanted lifeguards, and the lifeguards wear their shirts there.
Yeah, and I guess I'm thinking about my question too, about, where's the dividing line? Because, yeah, I mean, I like it, it's a good event, but you could have, a hockey tournament that's available to all age groups, or a tennis tournament, and we'd say, well, we want town staff there. And there is a cost with the staff, the ask is not just for $350 or $250, it's that plus staff time. So the ask is more than that $250, right? There's those other costs, although it's not a direct cost, or none of these are direct costs because we already have them so-called built in. And like I say, I'm in favor, I'm just trying to think ahead. And the answer that I'm coming up with as I sit here is that the difference between it is we sit on a committee with this organization, and that might be the dividing line, is saying, yeah, we don't sit on minor hockey, we don't sit on the tennis club or the other nonprofit organizations. But if we do sit on that committee, we're part of that committee, therefore we can, assist. It's different than another group asking. I feel better now.
I love it. Go with that. That was brilliant.
Councillor Wakel?
I like John's comment that he said earlier that the other organizations that you've mentioned, that's organized sport. This is splash, make a mess with water. The other thing that kind of just occurred to me as well is having the lifeguards there, it can be sort of like a, hey, you want to be a lifeguard? Here's the path you got to take. It's not specifically for recruitment, but it could be for recruitment. The U.S. Navy set up recruiting stations outside theaters in 1986 when Top Gun was playing. They got lots of people to sign up. Right, so here's something here. See something that's got fun, get some people participating. Maybe we can get, because let me guess, we can use more lifeguards, right?
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I see it. I see the divide as it's not organized sport. I like what you said about we sit on this committee and the fact that we can use it as an encouragement to take a path towards being a lifeguard.
Okay, you know what, I don't think anybody's disagreeing. I just had threw that one question out there, but is there any other discussion on this before we vote? Councillor Shishin?
I was just gonna say, it's just, I look at it as, like you say, it's not one age group, it's a community event, and, I think our presence there, as a town is good that way, absolutely, and, yeah, I don't see a lot of negatives, I mean, I see that point about we're sitting on a committee, and that was kind of sort of the dividing line for me, but, I see a little bit more of the positives there with that as well, so.
All right, good. Nothing else. We had the motion to grant to be applied to the rental fees of $250 and allow 3 recreation staff to attend the event. All in favor? Opposed? I'm not sure, Judy, did you vote? I didn't see your hand, or you froze? Oh, there's a hand. Is that in favor or opposed?
Thumbs down.
It looks, much.
She's frozen. Oh, our internet connection is unstable. Have to get hooked up with fiber on that.
Okay. I'm not sure what Judy voted there. Oh, there's her hand still up. Oh, she sent me a text message, so this will probably be a little, she's in support. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Just, Mr. Mayor, as a point of protocol with the online voting, perhaps thumbs up, thumbs down would be easier, then it's clear.
Well, no, it was just the delay factor.
Well, I know the delay factor, but then if
Hands up or down is good. Oh, I see what you're saying.
thumbs up,
Yeah.
thumbs down, in favor.
Gotcha. No, that's a good suggestion.
I have one once in a while.
Yeah, okay, I'm with you. All right, so moving on then to our CAO written report. Get a motion on this one.
Waiting for them.
Okay, go ahead.
The council received CEO's Bill McKinnon's report and action is for information.
Oh, I have to go back, and not that it's gonna change the vote, but Councillor Stenhouse clarified it wasn't support, it was no support for it, so, in the last motion.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I think we got one other thing to clarify. I think the only one that did not support it was Councillor Stenhouse, so the previous motion, the 250, would be split between the 6 councillors. Is that correct? Anybody object to that? No, okay, just for clarification, that's it, okay, thank you. All right, and going to the report again, sorry, we're backtracking a little bit to the CEO's report. Councillor Dunn, you made the motion?
Yes, I do.
All right, thank you. And I'll turn it over to our CEO for any updates.
There's a couple good news stories in here. We're continuing our onboarding with our IT support firm. We have what's called touch point meetings every week, just to track what's going on, what's outstanding. Certain staff, the fire chief, for instance, is actively engaging in workflow processes with their new firm to look for efficiencies in some of the form management. So these are all added value services that our previous vendor would not provide unless extra billings occurred. So that's all great stuff. RFP decisions on the banking proposals have been completed. At 6 proposals, the best proposal was from ATB Financial. The minimum, I shouldn't say cost savings, it's more revenue generation related to the banking services. We'll be receiving a minimum of $45,000 additional increases in interest earnings and other financial gains from their proposal. Another good news story with our tax installment payment program. Currently, we have 308 residential properties, which is around 34% of the accounts enrolled in the program. That's generally tracking a bit higher than most municipalities, and we did have a significant uptick this year. We actively manage and market the program. The advantage is we get constant cash flow throughout the year. Bad news is CPO recruitment. We've gone through a series of interviews. No successful candidate was found. Just for council's information, the 10,000 contribution for joint tourism opportunity attraction website with the county, that was turned down by the province in the round 1 intake. There is a round 2, which is being pursued, so that money would, that's been adopted in the budget, could potentially still be released, but it's still dependent on our success in the intake 2. Dealing with Canadian Fiber on high priority town sites for high-speed fiber. Another great news story is we've had what I consider 2 interested, and I mean very interested, sincere individuals make proposals. One was actually up, they're residents of Boise, Idaho. They were here last week for a week touring the town, and they're actively negotiating to acquire the business.
And then that's part of, because of the high speed that we have? Or that's just unrelated?
It's unrelated.
Oh.
Right. Of course, any business would find that attractive now. Again, council approved numerous working documents related to the gas co-op. The audit's been completed. The Federation of Alberta Gas Co-ops has deemed the town's system is safe, secure, and efficient. There were 6 minor deficiencies. 4 of those minor deficiencies have been corrected, and there's 2 items that are being worked on. One of the items will be coming back to council in September, which is the adoption of a series of documents, and if anyone wishes to read them, there's 5 volumes, roughly 4,000 pages of reading, which is our standard operating procedures. But formally, it has to be adopted by council, and that's one of the outstanding items that will be coming back in September. And that concludes my report.
All right, any questions or comments for our CAO? Councillor Daneka.
So motion 21123, the community barbecue. Is that still a go? Are we still doing it? Are we discussing it on our committee of the whole meeting? What's happening there?
It has been advertised. The local newspapers run an ad advising the dates, the times, the venues, the activities. We're still working on the sort of program list. But contacted the Citizen of the Year. They could not attend the rodeo because they were out of town. She's aware of the dates and was noted that in her calendar. There are some other activities that they'll be discussing further with council that could happen on that day in terms of other recognition of some significant achievements in the community. So yes, it's still going on. We have 2 major sponsors. MP Engineering and Canadian Fiber will both be participating on that day and underwriting at least 50% of the cost of those days' activities. And there's some other minor sponsors that are likely to jump on board, but the 2 major ones have made formal commitments.
Okay, so now this is just a suggestion before when we get to that date and the time. It's from like 11 till 2. My suggestion is if we can have the barbecue started and starting cooking of the burgers before 11, because people are on a time frame. Because it seems when we start at 11, it takes 20 minutes to cook a burger. People come in, they gotta go. So if we can have some already done, that would help. is my suggestion. But thank you, I'm looking forward to all the events that are gonna happen that day.
And of course, there'll be a sign-up sheet for council volunteers to participate, and we'll backfill with town resources. So, yeah, we can endeavor to make sure we're ready to go Friday the 11th.
Okay. Anything else? Councillor Martins?
No, thank you for the report. I think that Councillor Denoka asked about the Citizen of the Year, correct? And I heard your response. We still have our committee of the whole was August 13th.
12th, Saturday.
Saturday, the 12th?
12th, okay, perfect, Saturday. And then my question is, CPO, that peace officer, is that what that acronym is?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. And finally, is there any way, I knew you would find us what the procedure was to, so for example, I'd love my email set up. Is there some mechanism or process by which a council member can contact them? Because I remember previously there was a process of what if, is it just sending you a note or?
Yeah, we'll contact you directly on that and make sure that you're looked after.
Perfect.
Theoretically, not theoretically, but.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I played around forever today and I couldn't figure it out, so thank you so much.
What changed for
Let's go to
you,
mine.
Councillor Martins? What didn't work where you couldn't figure it out?
My email, I couldn't log into my email.
Oh, okay.
So we'll look after
I'm
that.
remote this, today,
So we'll look after that, but it's,
and I'm not in front of my usual.
it's not part of the service per se, because councillors are not on the town server. They are, have access to town email, but are not registered users of any of the other peripherals. But the current provider will help with any integration issues related to the email. The majority of the councillors, I don't think, are having issues, but.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody else is having an issue with getting accessing.
I haven't checked my town email today, so I don't know.
And I know Councillor Stenhouse did indicate in a text message that she was having some issues, but she seemed to get on this evening, so maybe that's been resolved now.
Yeah, so there may just be, again, some simple things dealing with the, since people are basically using their
It's
phones.
definitely simple, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, it's definitely simple, it's that.
so, anyways,
But I'm remote and I'm not in my usual spot, and that's the issue.
we sent off a notification earlier today to our provider, just to alert them to see if there was anything that they're aware of. We haven't got a response yet, but we'll look after it tomorrow for sure.
Thank you, Bill. It's okay.
Anything else, Councillor Martins? No? I had a couple of questions. One is around that you'd mentioned here working with two interested parties on the rural entrepreneurship stream. Was that the one, but you mentioned one from Idaho? But that wouldn't be, does that fall under this program?
Yes,
Oh,
that
okay.
is under this program.
So we've got two looking at.
Yep, that individual and another individual. Both will be submitting formal proposals, which is part of the process. One individual is in active negotiations to acquire business and property within the town, and is very keen on relocating to this community.
We had a very interested party probably about 8-9 months ago. Any word on if that one's come through, or has they just fallen off the map?
I get emails every day, twice a week, from interested parties. They're more fishing than they are interested. So this, for instance, this individual from Boise came up for a week with his family and did an extensive investigation of the town, has been in active negotiations with other third parties within town, has already drafted a business plan and provided it to myself for feedback. So those are the, you know, the sort of the diamonds in the rough proposals and interests. So both these individuals, I believe, are very, very serious about relocating. Every report I do, I could say how many people have contacted the town, but the follow-up isn't there. And once they find out the rigor of the level of investment required, the business plan requirements, and other provincial documents, that the town is basically the intake, and then we deal with the workforce placement consultants at the province to further vet the proposal. So that is where we're going, and this one individual in particular has already contacted, and we've had a joint discussion with the outside, you know, workforce consultant of the province. So it shows their level of interest in the program.
Okay, thanks. It's obvious that that other one seemed interested at the time, but they've obviously fallen off the interest map for whatever reason. All right, anything else for our CAO? All right, we had a motion to receive for information. All in favor? Good thumbs up, I got it. All right. Moving on then to our council, the FCSS report. Can I get a motion on this one? Councilor Yushishin?
The council received the FCSS July 2023 report for information.
All right. Any questions on this one? The one thing I'll just ask is, the last time we had this report, I just was curious, because in my head the math didn't really work out, but if you go to, we'll go to July, and it's the same every month, but in July they had 70 people that they serviced, but down below, they, you know, how they service those people, it's either by phone, by email, by walk-in or appointment. It doesn't add up to 70. So I'm just wondering why there's a difference between how many are there and how they're serviced.
Yeah, I think we had the question before, and we haven't met to be able to ask that question,
Oh.
but yeah, I mean, good question. That is a good question, but yeah, we haven't had anything.
Okay, that's fine. Anything else on the FCSS report? Councillor Danaka?
I missed the discussion. Did you get an answer to your question?
I did not. They
Okay.
haven't had a meeting
Okay.
since, so, yeah. Any other questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Okay, carried. Moving on then to the letters received by administration, 14.2. Can I get a motion on these? Councillor Dunn?
The council received this report for information. Council received this report for information.
Okay, it's, yeah, it's like an echo. All right, is there any questions on those replies or the letters? All right, all in favor? Perfect, good. Then moving on to our reports, we'll start with Councillor Danaka. Oh, before we do that, I just want to back up to item 15, out notice of upcoming meetings. We do have on Saturday, our committee of the whole meeting is scheduled. Does that still work for everybody? Just want to double check.
What time we're starting? Nine?
Oh, Councillor Stenhouse says, no, it doesn't work. Everybody else has got a thumbs up.
I won't be,
Oh, okay, we got,
well, I was never gonna be here, right?
yeah.
So, that doesn't change.
So we'll have, 2 won't be here, but 5 will. All right, okay.
At nine?
At what time will we start? 9? All right, and the town barbecue's confirmed. Okay, so those are sort of our upcoming meetings. Sorry, Councillor Danaka, we'll let you do your report.
I've had no meetings, but I did attend the evening session of the powwow, which is always a great event. My next per invite that I attended was the 50th anniversary gas co-op barbecue. Good crowd. I think they wanted somebody from the town to speak. Because when I got there, Doris asked, oh, are you representing the town? And I'm like, okay. But I never did get a chance because I was working that day, so I had to leave after about an hour and a half. So I didn't see Doris, so I just passed along a message to one of the workers saying, tell Doris I had to go. So I don't know what happened after that. And the other thing I attended along with the CAO and Councilor Chishin was the pouring of the arena floor and putting the loonie at center ice. The CAO from the county as well as the Reed were there. And they had their 2 pins, we had the high prairie pins. I don't think, if I remember correctly, the fellow was going to put them in the ice, but they won't be seen because they're not flat, so they'll come up, so they'll be way down, but the loonie will be at center ice. So other than that, that's my activities, and I move my report for information.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for Councillor Danaka? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, Councillor Dunn?
I have no report.
No report, thank you. Councillor Martins?
All right, so last week we had, the Lesser Slave Watershed Council had its meeting, and we did a regular operational update, the treasurer's report, and we have a new initiative, which is the Lesser Slave Lake Shoreline. It's sort of a risk assessment of the inaptness of that waterfront shoreline, along with some other ongoing projects, and the website has great information. The Swan River stated the watershed, the white paper assessments they gave. There's a couple of upcoming events, our WPAC, which is the watershed kind of councils meetings and so forth, coming up in the September-October timeframe. And that was sort of from that event. We talked about the upcoming Splash Fest, which thank you to the town for kind of being an ongoing sponsor. As well, I did attend the powwow as well. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was either the differential in the venue. I thought it seemed smaller than Lobster, but it was a great time. And with that, I will move my report for information.
All right, anybody with questions or comments? I would like to say, did you take place in the second grand entrance?
No, I left right now. I did something to my foot. I don't know if it was the cement floor or something, or that uneven grass, so I couldn't stand. So about And they were delayed, because they waited until about 7, and then they were delayed. They were not even, they hadn't moved yet, and they weren't even talking about the grand entry, so no, I didn't go.
Well, thanks for offering anyways, to represent the town there.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was there, it's just that I was weird, I mean, it was just, the last bit got delayed, and they weren't, I don't know what happened.
All right, so with no other questions, all in favor?
I even dressed in my regalia, like I changed outfits. Even with my ribbon skirt, because I was really prepared. Which is so sad that I couldn't participate.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate
So,
the
sorry
offer.
not to.
Yeah. So in my report, I'll go on to that, is I did attend the powwow and participated in the first grand entry, and wasn't able to stay for the second grand entry, and Councillor Martins was going to represent the town, and we talked about it at the second grand entry, but obviously wasn't able to do it. Also participated in the rodeo parade, and gave a welcome address at the rodeo. The parade was huge, and a lot of people out this year. Man, it was, I think, the most I've ever seen out in all the parades that I've been to in the town. It was very well attended, and quite a few floats too. That was a lot of floats, so it seemed to be a big success. Went to the Dairy Queen grand opening, which was good. That was a nice event. And then a couple days later, they did the ribbon cutting at the event and participated in that. So those were my events over the time. I'll move my report for information, unless there's any questions. All in favor? Thumbs up. Okay, good. Councillor Stenhouse? No report? All right, no report. Going to Councillor Waco.
I haven't had any meetings per se, but I did participate in the Dairy Queen grand opening, and rest in peace my waistline. It's not going to be good for that. But it's great to see another new business there. Also, I've noticed that McSteel, they've got their fence all up and screened in somewhat. They move their stuff in and out of there pretty quickly, so that's really good to see. And Tim Hortons, there's always a line up there, so I'm really glad that our new businesses in town are thriving. I just wanted to say that publicly. I did participate in the parade. I drove the vehicle with the MLA's magnets on it, but he's kind of a go-getter, this Scott Sinclair. He was running along with his man Chad there. They were tossing the candy to the kids. And if you ever have the opportunity to drive in the rodeo parade, I suggest that you don't if you have a heart condition, because man, those kids, they dart out, and I've never been so scared driving 5 kilometers in my life. But all good, so had a good chat with our MLA and with his man Chad there. Got his phone number, always important. I do believe Scott is going to make an attempt to be at our next council meeting in September. He wants to come in and just basically introduce himself and see what he can do to help us. And I think, yeah, that's really it. I'm going to the rail safety committee thing in Grand Prairie on the 22nd, I believe, 22nd, yeah. Going to that in Grand Prairie, so I'm really looking forward to that as well. So, but yeah, that's my report on that information.
All right, any questions or comments for Councillor Waco? I'll make a comment just, Councillor Martins, did you have something? No, oh, okay. I just wanted to say, thanks Big Lakes Dodge for the vehicle that they provided for both. That was great, they were great vehicles, and it was good. You had mentioned our MLA. I'm very hopeful he'll be present a lot more. He seemed very aware of the issues with the past MLA not being around, and he did mention that he was hoping to get there, but also hoping to have maybe once a month town halls for anybody to come in and see him. So he wants to be a lot more visible. At least it's a good idea. Hopefully he does it.
Yeah, he's very engaging and personable, and getting to know the job still, I guess, but a vast improvement.
All right, we have the motion to receive for information. All in favor? Carried. And last but not least, Councillor Yashish.
I just had the one meeting. We had the Big Lakes and Town of High Prairie Health Professional Attraction and Retention Committee meeting, and it was a fairly short meeting. It was one of our shorter meetings, I guess I should say. They're usually actually quite long, but this was really the main discussion was discussing the appreciation event for the health for the High Prairie Health employees, and not just specifically doctors, but for the health group there. What else was I going to say about that? Not too much really. That's all that we were really talking about, was kind of working out a little bit of the details on that. And then there's a little bit of a subgroup that'll be working out the finer details on that there. There's a budget of $2,000 a year for 2 events, and this is using the $1,000. And again, it's to show appreciation for the current High Prairie Health employees there. There wasn't too much on that one there. It was good to see the cement pouring the floor, which was great to see. I didn't realize it was going to be extended by that much longer, and that was good to see too. So that was really coming along, so that was great. And unfortunately, I wasn't at the powwow this year. I had another event, and I had to be out of town, so I move my report for information.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Yashishin? I am going to just follow up. I know I was asking if the attraction committee was able to meet up with the new doctor in town. Has anything happened there?
I did talk with Ken Matthews, so we would be the 2 that were appointed. He didn't follow up. He was saying again, that was kind of prior. We don't have any contact information for him. He's actually kind of currently in the community, and he's been kind of working along, so he hasn't, there hasn't been kind of the reaching out or needing anything there so much. But Ken and I are organized that, so for when we have our next, we're going to be informed of any of the newer health employees coming in. So we've got, we discussed a bit of a strategy there that, depending on what their interests are, and that we'll center showing them the community and giving them information in that regard, and also follow up in that regard as well to ensure that not only you get them started, but there is that retention part of it as well. So, but as far as the previous was kind of way before us there, so we haven't had any contact there.
Okay, no, I like. No, okay, I was just going to say I really like the planning of event in appreciation for the health professionals. That's great, but we do need to. I had heard rumors, and I don't know if it's true, but one of the doctors had went out for the weekend and then never came back, and I don't know if they've come back or haven't come back, but and I don't know which doctor it is or anything, but I do know that my wife had phoned for an appointment, and that's what she was told, that one of the doctors had left for the weekend and has never come back. So I don't know if it's true or not, but it is something we need to make sure we retain them as best we can also. Okay, see ya?
If I could just, it's not necessarily targeted for doctors, but I'd just like to thank the staff at the front end. When new residents are coming into town, they're taking the extra effort of offering them an overview of the town, so when they come in and set up their new water accounts or their new this, staff are being very proactive now. For instance, the new physiotherapist came in last week to set up his accounts, and, you know, staff were able to provide information on the school boards, on the community activities and the like. We do have some old reference guides on the community, and at least we were providing that. We're hoping to get a newer one out. It wasn't a town publication, but there is a community guide with all the businesses and, you know, the most popular numbers for the churches and sports communities and all that. But, you know, we've been encouraging staff to reach out to new residents coming in.
Well, that's excellent. Keep them here, getting the information. All right, we need to vote on Councillor Shishin's report. All in favor? All right, that is carried. And with that, we're done our agenda, meeting adjourned.